She's the first female to ever represent New Zealand in the air pistol event.
People with disabilities, our biggest thing is we just carry on. We just move forward because that's how we work, right? That's how we live, we have to keep moving forward.
Hey everyone, Jamie here. Welcome to Flame Bearers Unedited, a brand new series bringing to you largely unedited conversations. We heard you loud and clear. You want to hear more stories of more elite women athletes from around the world. So we're going to deliver. In Unedited, we're going to bring you completely unfiltered conversations. We hit start, we have our conversation, we hit end. What we're going to see, though, is slightly different because we're not going to have all the traditional bells and whistles that you're used to in Flame Bearers production. So let's jump in.
Yeah, so my name is Neelam O'Neill. I'm from New Zealand and my sport is shooting parasport.
Okay, so Neelam, how did you get into shooting?
First time I held a gun was when I was 7 years old, and it was just on a family trip camp that we did, and we were just shooting cans and containers, and I just enjoyed it. Like, it was just to kill time, right? Didn't think much of it. It was like, oh yeah, like a secret skill I had that I didn't know I needed later on in life. I remember turning up to the range and all these other kids had been shooting for like at least a year or 2 years or whatever. And I had I was like, oh, it's fine. Like, I know how to shoot. Like, I just shoot cans and containers. It's fine. This is just a target, same thing. And I guess at the time, I didn't realize that there was eyes on me when I'm shooting, because lots of people were starting to notice that I was shooting good, and they're like, how? Like, you've only just started. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it is what it is. And so did this high school competition. Our team, because we were doing it in groups of 3, our team got top 20, and I was like, I've got a bit of an inkling for this. Let's try for the next one, which was the following year.
You think?
Yeah. I was like, I think I'll try and train and see what happens. And so the club was real good. Like, they let me go and train with them on Friday nights, and it was up a mountain in a cold tin shed, mainly during winter. And so you have like the heavy jackets on to stay warm, and we'd be lying on the ground because I was doing it as an able-bod, and just shooting in this tin shed at like 8 to 9 o'clock at night. And I did that for a 12-month period until we came to the next competition. And then my team won first in New Zealand. So I was like, totally worth it. Yeah. So I kind of was like, okay, I think I kind of have it in the blood. Like, I think shooting might be my thing. But then unfortunately the range had closed down, and I must have been year 12 or form 6. So I had one more year of high school left. So that kind of put everything on hold. I was like, I really like it. I want to figure out where I can do this more. The first person to show me air rifle was Paralympic legend Michael Johnson, who is the New Zealand gold medalist in Athens, and it was his first games, and he's got 2 bronze medals from Beijing and from London. So he's our top shooter in New Zealand, and he's still my coach. He's still my rifle coach. You know,
how did you get connected with him? That's amazing. So you go from shooting in a tin roof at 8 to 9 p.m. to having this legend as your coach.
Yeah, and it just happened to be that he was one of the main coaches at then Parafed Auckland, who was showing people how to shoot. So I just happened, out of the people that were there probably was about 3 different people. I sat in front of him, took a couple of shots. It's a little bit cocky, I think, as well, because I was 9 to 18, actually. I was 18, was like, I know how to shoot, it's fine. And my first shot was a 10, but then after that, I just couldn't hit it. And I'm like, what's going on? And couldn't figure it out. And then I was like, I need to keep working at this. And I think that's what kept me going, was I wanted to keep working and get better. From there, I started competing in 2013. I won my first gold in our first national competition, which was really cool, and in front of my parents as well, because it was at a time where it's my last year of university. I was like, I want to find out what's going on with shooting, and I was like, I don't know if I should stay in Auckland to pursue this or if I carry on and do my career stuff. I moved to Auckland for university. I was in my last year of university, and I had to make a decision of what to do. And I was like, I need to see where shooting goes. There's something there that I just need to see where it goes. And I remember Mike telling my parents about Paralympic Games, how I had potential. But he also told us the cost of it. Like he said, before you go to the first games, it's going to cost about $100,000 to be able to go overseas, qualify, and then go to a games. And straight away, my parents were like, nope, we don't have the money. Nope.
Yeah. How much, help me understand, like what, if you're open to sharing for someone who has never tried to go for a Paralympic Games, what does that look like financially? You talk about it being a barrier. Help us understand.
So for us, like if you're not a high performing athlete or you're just right in the system trying to qualify for the games, actually like here in New Zealand, you are self-funded. And so for me, I can't actually carry all my gear myself because I have my rifle case, so I have to take a support person with me, and that's a extra cost, and it's double the cost essentially as well, because like it's flights, accommodation, like it's the whole shebang, right? Like the shooting part is actually the easy part when it comes to travel. And also it's all the in-betweens as well. Traveling with a disability is quite difficult for some people. The barriers that we face, or the challenges we face, I should say, are not ones that people would think of, like especially like when you're on a long flight, you know, getting like, and you can't move and you need to go to the bathroom and all those things, right? So the cost is so huge. And for me, like I think roughly every international competition I go away with a person, it probably costs me between 15,000 to 17,000 New Zealand every time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow, that is such a real burden and cost to have to shoulder that yourself.
Yeah. It's definitely something that would put people off doing this pathway because it is a big ask. And for me, like I've done it for a long time as well. The first few years when I started international, like I went to Australia for the Australian Cup in end of 2014, and then my first World Cup was 2015 back in Australia. And to go to my next World Cup, I needed to save because I was working as well, because I was working part-time, and it took me 2 years to save up to go to my next competition, which was in 2017 in Thailand. So it was quite a big burden trying to even just find the funds, and because shooting's a very unique niche sport. It's not one that people do or know about that much. It's not advertised that well. It's really hard to get people on board to be like, hey, like we're not these main sports that we have in New Zealand. Like New Zealand is definitely known for its rugby, so everything gets chucked at rugby, netball, cricket, like athletics. Yeah, shooting, they're like, what? Oh, we already support big sports. And it's like, oh, but it's little sports that need the help.
Right. Yeah. And I imagine that para sports are even tougher to get that attention on.
Yeah, 100%, because the pathway is so different as well. And again, like I said, like with the added costs, like a support person, for an able-bodied who does shooting, they don't need people carrying their gear. They can just take themselves and fly wherever. Whereas for us, we have to thoroughly plan out all the logistics of it. So we have to go, okay, what transport are we using? Is it accessible, or can the wheelchair be packed up? Is our accommodation accessible? If it's not accessible, how do we make it so we can use it? Because there's been a lot of competitions where we've gone to, because if you think about it, even though shooting's a niche sport, we have so many shooters. So internationally, when you have probably over 300 shooters that just compete on a regular.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. And say half of them, let's say half of them, or even a quarter of them are in wheelchairs. That's still quite a lot of people to accommodate when you think about accommodation, which only have maybe maximum 6 rooms that have disability access, right? So you have to, like a lot of people have to adapt and do things differently from home life to be able to do these competitions, right? And sometimes it's quite difficult. You hear these horror stories of people having to crawl on the ground to get into the bathroom because the wheelchair doesn't fit in, and, having to take their own bath, pools, like little paddling pools, so they can wash in there because they can't get in the shower, and all these things. And these are the things that people just don't know about, because people with disabilities, our biggest thing is we just carry on. We just move forward because that's how we work, right? That's how we live, we have to keep moving forward.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Neelam. I saw you posted on Instagram for International Day of Persons with Disabilities, and you said that we have to stop shying away from having conversations around disability. And you said that your disability has been transformative for you. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was born with spina bifida, which is a congenital disease which affects your spine and lower legs. And so for me, I can't feel my feet in part of my lower legs. It's kind of like if you've seen Mr. Deeds, the movie, and Adam Sandler, where he's got frostbite. That scene just cracks me up because I kind of know what that feeling's like, because I always go stand on my foot. And they're like, no, I'm like, just do it. And then I pretend to scream. And they're like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, just kidding. I can't feel it. Like, it's fine. Like, and so, so hasn't always been the greatest thing. Obviously, like, I still get injured and still like unexpected fractures in my feet when I don't know. I just see swelling. I'm like, what is going on? But yeah, so because of my disability, I've had a lot of surgeries. And then on top of that, I've got rheumatoid arthritis, which I've had as a kid. So it was affected my elbow, my right elbow mainly. And actually is the reason why I still do rifle, but I've also now doing pistol.
Okay.
So pistol is, the reason behind pistol was my elbow got really bad to the point where I thought I was going to stop shooting. And I was like, I can't, I don't want to give up shooting just because of this, and I can't fix it. I was like, what can I do? And somebody was like, hey, why don't you try pistol? I'm like, pistol is a completely different ball game. I was like, what? Like, I have to start from scratch. And so when I really thought about it, I was like, you know what? I was like, I want to keep shooting. Let's try it. And it's very different. Instead of looking at two circles, you're shooting from one hand and you're looking at blocks on your pistol, and you're lining up these blocks with your front sight, and you're aiming below the target. So the skill level is very difficult, and it's something that people probably don't see. Like, you obviously would have heard about the Turkish guy from the Olympics, and everyone's like, oh, he just looks like a dad that rocked up and just started shooting. Totally. In actual fact, like, people can look so cool when they're set up, but the level of difficulty is unreal. Like, I believe shooting's the hardest sport, because when you've got sports like swimming or like athletics or something that you can explode that adrenaline that you get, because everyone gets adrenaline at the start line, right? When they're competing and, all that stuff, like, it's human nature. But for shooters, we don't have a way to explode that. We don't we have to breathe through it and
to harness it,
try and stay calm, because even our heart rate, if it goes quite fast, it affects the guns, because you start seeing a pulse and you're like, oh no, like, I need to calm down.
So how do you do that? How do you give us some tips for how you regulate your heart rate? Because when you're about to shoot, I'm sure you're feeling that adrenaline. So how do you harness it and make sure that you're staying calm?
Yeah, so I think it's all about how you read it as well, because it's a fine line between nervousness and excited, right? So if you tell yourself you're nervous, it's kind of like a negative effect, because then it builds up and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to explode. But if you say, hey, actually, I'm excited, like, I'm ready for this, you kind of go with it. But the way to, for me, because I always get nervous, I don't know, I probably show up more because I'm more expressive, but I do a lot of breathing techniques. So trying to anchor myself in my stomach and just making sure that I try and find that calm, collected space, and then just remembering what my process is to take the shot. So instead of looking at all these bigger outward factors, going, people are watching me, I've got the time running out, I've got competitors, I've got to beat, all these things, you have to zone back into yourself and go, okay, what do I need to do this one shot? And then you do that repetitively every time for 60 shots in a match. It's quite difficult. It's for me, I always say shooting is 10% action, 90% mental game. It's the biggest mental game you'll ever have, and shooting definitely teaches you how to try and stay calm in a real chaotic environment.
Wow. And I know you were recently at Paris for the Paralympics, which I imagine was quite the adrenaline rush. You've also had immense successes, obviously, within your own country and multiple other situations. Talk to us about what Paris was like for you, and then what your hopes are moving forward.
I was ecstatic because it was my first games. This has been a dream for such a long time, and to be able to fulfill it was just incredible. So I became the first female pistol shooter for New Zealand to represent at the Paralympic Games. And I was the first female in 40 years to represent New Zealand at a Paralympic Games in shooting. And that's just incredible to me. Like, I was just like, what? Like, I didn't even know like these things existed. So yeah, it was insane, really. Like, the atmosphere was incredible. So many people, like, I've never seen so many people at a shooting range before that weren't athletes, because you look in the crowd and you're like, wow, this is crazy, like the noise and everything. And because shooting's I say quiet sport, it's not really a quiet sport, but there's not a lot of people cheering. But in Paris, like, it was loud, especially for the home crew. The French were just incredible to listen to, actually. So good. And I was very fortunate to have my mum and sister come all the way over. So it was the first time that all of us had been to Europe, and the furthest we've ever been away from home. So it was real special having everyone there. And then, yeah, competing. Because we weren't in Paris, we were in Châteauroux, which was 4 hours away from Paris. We were kind of isolated in our own bubble. So it was kind of nice in the sense that it kind of created that World Cup feel, because it was just us with our friends and just competing as we normally do. But then as soon as they opened the gates to the actual competition, that's when things started feeling a bit more pressure, because lots more people watching. And yeah, it was just such a cool atmosphere, being able to see my friends again and being able to compete and connect. And then I went up to Paris afterwards to join the rest of the New Zealand team, and that atmosphere was like I feel like I was very fortunate to be in a satellite village, because I think I would have been overly excited the whole time if we were in Paris. And I feel like I wouldn't have been able to maintain my excitement when I was shooting. So now that I've experienced both, I'm like, okay, well, next time, LA's all together. So maybe we can figure out how to handle this pressure being in this excitement bubble. So it was really cool. Like, I really loved catching up with all my other New Zealand Paralympian friends, and watching other people compete, and just exploring the village as well, and seeing all these amazing athletes coming through as well.
So cool. You mentioned LA 28. What are your plans? Obviously, I guess it's only 3 years away now, but
yeah.
What are your plans, in between games, but also potentially after the games?
At the moment, I'm still going to work towards LA, because I feel like I'm still unfinished. I want to be able to bring something back for New Zealand at the next games. So
let's go.
That is the goal. That is the goal. Lots of work to be done, but at the same time, just reflecting on how big of a year last year was, and being given the opportunity to represent New Zealand is always an honor and a privilege. I don't know if, cause shooting's a bit of a funny one. There's no time frame on it. Our oldest shooter was, I think, 73, and that was Libby Kosmala at the 2016 Rio Paralympics. And yeah, shooting's the sport that can go on and on and on. So I have no intention of ending this pathway anytime soon. But yeah, in between, it's just working and helping out my community with shooting, and just inspiring kids as well with what they can get into, and finding those pathways for them as well, and getting them to reach their goals is probably where I want to be in the future, and helping other female para-athletes.
Neelam, I think of you as such a role model, and you have broken so many barriers for your country, for parasport. What would you say if younger Neelam was listening to you? If you could give your younger self advice, what would you tell her?
Oh, that is hard, because younger Neelam did the right thing in giving shooting a try, I think. So I'm real grateful that she was brave enough to say yes to her friend, because that's kickstarted a world that we did not know was in the cards, really. It's taken me to so many places, and I never thought travel was in my, in the cards for me, because I thought it was going to be too difficult with my disability. And after having sport in my life, and being traveled to all sorts of places. You know, I love putting myself in difficult situations, apparently. So I went to Machu Picchu, which isn't accessible by wheelchair at all, just to let everybody know. But I went to Machu Picchu in 2023 because we had a competition in Lima. And, you know, I've got to see like the Taj Mahal, got to see the reclining Buddha in Thailand, went up the Burj Khalifa, went up to the Eiffel Tower as well, because obviously you had to do that when you're in Paris. So all these places that I used to see that I dream of going but never thought I would. It's like, good work, Neelam. You got to where we need to be to get to see these incredible places and meet incredible people and do something that we still love deep down. So yeah, I think just want to thank her for being brave and keeping at it and not giving up on that dream that she had, because I think it would have been pretty easy back then looking at all the barriers and the challenges going, actually, I can't do this. The cost is too much. Like the travel, I don't know how I'm going to cope with that. All those things. But she was good. She took it on the chin and was like, we will get through everything as we do. And yeah, I think I'm just grateful that she took the chance to explore different sports and things, because I think being brave is the biggest thing that anybody can do, especially as a para-athlete or even just a person with a disability, because it's so difficult to find something that you click with, and even just to try a sport's quite hard, and to be brave enough to find something and pursue it is quite big. I think that's the first step in anything really for anyone, even people without disabilities, is just being brave and taking that leap forward.
We hope that through amplifying and celebrating your story, we can help other people be brave too, because they can see you as a role model, as someone who has done that before. Neelam, we like to end every interview with one final question, which is, if there's one action our community can take after listening to your story, what would you like them to do? It could be an ask, it could be a read this book, call this person, think about A, B, and C. What is the one ask you would like our community to do?
So one thing I'd love the community to do is not be afraid of disability. Actually go and speak to somebody that has a disability, find out about them and the journeys that they've been through, because you might learn something really cool from them. And also, disability is still not in the realm of normalized, right? And I find that so strange, because 15% of the world has a disability. So I think it's, again, going back to people need to be brave and need to go, actually, I want to find out more about you, your sport, and just asking questions. There's no dumb question. Everyone is actually very open to sharing life stories if people are willing to listen.
Thanks for tuning in to Flame Bearers Unedited. If you like what you're hearing, please leave us a positive review on your favorite podcasting platform or YouTube. If you want to see more behind the scenes coverage, follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, whatever platform you're on, we're there too. Thanks, and we'll catch you on our next episode.